Growtopia, a game we all know and love. Or at least we did. Through many years the game has been running. There have been countless times when things seem to get only worse and worse by its update. Illegal players, black market, auto farmers, and server issues. Those are just some of the things you see today, but when did those start appearing in the game? And what sealed Growtopia's fate to become the game that it is today? For this video I have listed 10 different dates that foreshadowed the long, painful demise of GT, and I'll try to pinpoint one out of them that truly ended Growtopia as we knew it. Some of the early players have said that the game used to be better when there were less players. I of course can't give my opinion on this because I started to play in late 2015. But what appears to be the main point that those early players are saying is that the social aspect of the game started to be lost later on when vending machines and other stuff like that started to be put into the game. However, the first thing that was both negative and positive that was brought to the game was on January 28th, 2013, the trade system. Despite it being the cornerstone of GT today and increasing sociality, the trade system would become infamous in the early years of the game due to the various scams it was used for. Scams like these we can see right here. I think you can also include the drop button in the same bunch, as it was used in drop games to scam people. Trade scamming left a dent on GT community, but this next thing that dropped 2 years later in 2015 definitely played a major role in the decline of social world, the vending machine. So the vending machine is such an amazing update to a certain part and playstyle of the game, which is selling and buying stuff. And by 2015 Seth and Hamumu realized that the game was becoming very economic, even if they didn't want or expect that to happen. They had to start adapting and updating for the convenience and practicality of profiting. I can also imagine that they had those trade scams in mind when they were designing the vending machine during that time, as it was a stain on the game's reputation. It didn't take very long for vending worlds to take over trade worlds, as vending machines became cheaper in masses to average and even poorer players. Clothes, seats, blocks. You could get anything from just visiting a world where there might not even be many other players. This made acquiring items so much easier in GT, but the game also became more dystopian compared to before. But if you thought the loss of sociality wasn't bad enough, the next thing is what defines a huge part of GT even today: the casinos. The casinos have pretty much always been in the game, however they were actually legal at one point in the history of the game. On May 24th, 2013, Seth and Hamumu released the Vegas pack. This pack includes some blocks and clothes, but the thing that made casinos truly easy was the roulette wheel. By the way, fun fact, in the Vegas pack the pink Cadillac was used to replace an item called rabbit's foot, which gave you tons of buffs for an hour, like extra gems and extra blocks. I mean, I didn't even know about this thing like until I researched this video. I had no idea this even existed in the game. That's really cool to learn something new, even as kind of an old player, you know. On July 7th, 2015, Hamumu declared casinos illegal, and they have been banned ever since. But the ban doesn't mean Growtopia still don't do it. Today, there are still tons of casino worlds all over GT. You can even find them on the random board, which is pretty crazy for a game to have that. It definitely thanked Ubisoft in their reputation and in the sociality department, as part of the player base flocked to these illegal worlds. And speaking of the devil, now we're going to go back in time to one of the most infamous casino worlds in GT, FX, and talk about the owner, Side FX, in our next entry. Selling locks for real money. When the casino business was still legal and booming, the player Side FX created a casino world called FX. I'm pretty sure he was like the wealthiest player at the time in GT, and with that he must have thought what would be the next step to take in the game. And he came up with a scheme to sell world locks for real money. I'm not sure on the technicalities of how this works because I haven't bought any world locks for real money, but you basically just sell and buy the in-game currency, which is TLs, for IRL money. Now, I don't know if Hamumu and Seth ever thought about this happening, but in their minds, this was definitely illegal. Side Effects was able to make lots of money from this trading until he was banned. On July 7, 2015, Side Effects was banned. And as you can remember from before, it was the day when casinos became illegal as well. By this point, this was probably the most massive event to happen in GT, as I remember hearing about it even half a year later after it happened when I started to play the game. What comes to today, the word FX has been banned for a long time, and there are still people selling and buying DLs and BGLs for IRL money. The example that Seth and Hamumu tried to set with banning Side Effects might have worked out for a while, but today his actions define almost the entire game, with bots taking over the game. Now we have gone over the player base hosting casinos and selling wordlocks for IRL money, but we haven't talked about how the devs themselves use this gambling addiction to make profit. Valentine's Week update. Honestly, I could have picked any event for this entry, but Valentine's Week is probably the most clear one there is. Describing the event as gacha today is an understatement. You spend gems or your net worth to buy chests from the store and gamble away everything for the chance to get the golden heart crystal. It's kind of ironic how casinos were outlawed, but Ubisoft introduced gachas like this into the game, which is RNG. Literally the whole reason why casinos exist. Really makes you wonder if they have morals at all, you know. I think the way this event used to be, where the chests would spawn into your world, was really cool, because anyone could get these, even people who were dirt poor. This event might have gotten people to spend and buy more gems, but it is another reason for the countless auto-farming bots in the game today. Now the next thing I'm talking about, I have already talked about on a video before, but I do have to mention it because it fits this video very well. Systems update. This was another update that was good and bad thing for the game. What this update introduced was the revamp on how you earn G tokens. On September 2nd, 2016, the update was released and it brought in new ways you could earn G tokens. Daily quests, life goals, bonuses, etc. How this affected the game was that the hotel worlds basically stopped existing after the update dropped. The reason for that was the old way you could earn G tokens was where you had to have players in your world and you could rack up G tokens with time. Hotel worlds were popular and there were lots of people in them, thus generating G tokens for the owners. And there were also those minigame worlds which were very scummy. I'm glad they disappeared. This update might have not even been the biggest deal breaker for the social aspect of the game, and less than a year after Systems update dropped, the date that still haunts GT players' minds commenced forth. Game is sold to Ubisoft. February 28th, 2017. So out of the 10 things that I have listed in this video, this one is the date that most people associate with GT going downhill. This day was a massive turning point for the game. An indie game sold to a big company. Without the retrospect, it might have been seen as a good and a hopeful thing, but when you look at the game now, yeah. There's a big debate in GT community about Ubisoft's actions, if they made the game worse or if the game was destined to always go down this path. Even if the game was still owned by Seth and Hamumu. But let me know in the comments what you think. In my opinion, Ubisoft definitely contributed to things that made the game worse. The most notable one being how the servers suspiciously started getting worse after the acquirement. Whatever the case, Ubisoft had already planned updates for the game. And only a few days later, after Ubisoft got control of GT, they introduced a set of upcoming items that would eventually break the game's economy. Rayman plus Mac Plant. Today these are some of the most iconic items in GT. They were introduced as IOTMs and both of them cost 200k gems each at the time. Wanna guess what they cost now? What makes this even worse is the fact how both were designed for farming, but were used by auto-farming bots. I mean, they probably still use them, or at least those that are left, as the item was only obtainable for 1 month in 2018. Rayman is extremely powerful in farming, as it can break 3 blocks at a time. I think we finally found the reason for why Super Broadcast costs so much these days. Auto farmers would use both Rayman and Mac Plant, as with Mac Plant you can place up to 5k blocks without refilling from your hand. You could farm for ages with your bots in level 124 jammer worlds. As this item was also quite easily obtainable and never brought back, people who were playing just at the right time could obtain it and live like kings and queens, watching the stocks go up while doing nothing. Investments, baby! I mean, it's kinda soy to own Mac Plant or Rayman these days. when instead you could own the Razor Wings. Just look at them. Aren't they awesome? IoTMs would keep coming, but none were as unique as Rayman or MacPlant, thus making more people want the items back in the store, to make them available for everyone. I think they should put something similar in the store. And now that I think about it, why haven't Ubisoft done this before? Or already? They could make tons of money from this. Talking about Ubisoft greed, the next thing that was truly a pro gamer move was the introduction of the Grow Pass. That's the next thing I'm gonna talk about. Go, Grow Pass. The Grow Pass is a battle pass which is a progression tree popularized by Fortnite, and now it's in every game ever. You have 3 tiers, but you can also pay every month for a certain amount of money to unlock the top item. And want to guess what the top item is in GT? The IoTM. They really put the item of the month behind a paywall. Now some of you might say that, but you can still buy it from someone else. And to that I say, sure. But don't you think it was greedy to put an item behind a paywall that you could farm gems for before? Ubisoft can't beat the allegations anymore. Now there will be more greed shown by Ubisoft, and in the 2020s, bots, casinos, and selling deals for IRL money became even more popular. Servers kept crashing. And coming back to the IoTMs, they all look soulless now. I think Ubisoft just has like 4 different colors they use in them. The game will receive literal ads in the background in the future, if you don't have a weather machine. However, I have left one more event for the end that I think that mattered quite a lot in the end of sociality in GT, and this was even before Ubisoft bought the game. Do you remember this world? Because I sure as do. It was one of the most iconic worlds of the game when I started playing in 2015. The world was almost always full of players. And look at it now. And the reason for its eventual demise is found in an update dropped in February of 2017, the pandemic update. This update made it so that zombies became more of an event instead of constantly running in a world, thus reducing the amount of zombies in GT overall. Now you could profit from beating up zombies, which might have seemed like a good idea, but did it really need the update? I mean, does everything have to be profit-centered in this game? I had the most fun in this game recently by just talking to players. It costs nothing but time, and in return you just might make good memories. Anyway, now I'm just ranting. Conclusion. So, in the end, I think the reason that GT met its demise was the vending machines, or the systems update, or the game was sold to Ubisoft. The answer isn't quite simple because there's many ways to look at it from different directions, such as the loss of sociality, servers degrading, game becoming more about profit, bots appearing. So the conclusion is quite anticlimactic. It's basically just all of these 10 things caused everything to happen. It's hard to say one thing caused the game fall down, because it's a mix of many things going wrong with the game's updates and negligence. You can still have some fun in the game, but it's not as it used to be. But let me know what you think. And let me know also in the comments down below if I missed anything. Also, if you really enjoyed my video, I highly recommend going to watch my video right there. It's really good content, I swear. Pinky promise. Yeah, okay. I'll see ya, hopefully. Peace.